Hey everyone, welcome back to Taking Back Monday. I am so excited that you decided to say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to more meaningful work. And I am so excited to introduce you to my new friend, Tabatha. Tabatha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Tabatha, you describe yourself as an executive career growth coach. Tell me a little bit more about that. What is that?
So it's really all about career advancement. And recently I've rebranded and calling myself a career advancement and leadership coach because it is a lot more clear. Really helping mostly women develop that confidence that they need, as well as the strategies that they need in order to build their careers, continue growing, and really excel at meeting the goals that they've set for themselves.
So, one of the things that you mentioned in your bio was that, almost a decade ago, you were looking to hope and pray that your leader would notice and promote you. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. Like, I do some really good work, but what I found is if I am not out there singing my own praises and telling my own story, no one is really paying attention. Not because I'm not doing good work, but we're all really busy. So tell us more about that. Like, how can I get my leader to notice and thereby promote me?
Absolutely. Something I love talking about. So as you said, I spent 10 years in a project manager role with a project manager title, but was leading teams of people, actually 3 separate teams on top of large projects.
Wow.
And I had a really good wake up call during a reorg when I realized, it's like, what has been happening? I've just been sitting here hoping, wishing, and praying that my leader would promote me. And it didn't happen. So from that point, I really learned that I need to be in the driver's seat of my own career. And what that means is I need to be able to talk about my expertise. I need to be able to talk about my accomplishments. And I need to get really comfortable, though it can be uncomfortable at first, I get it, but get really comfortable building my visibility and my brand and making sure people know what I do for my team, what I do for the company, and how I was really impacting those results. And learning how to do that actually led to 4 promotions over a 10-year period. So go from stagnating for 10 years, trying to figure it out and hoping for someone else to do it, or someone else would do it, and then taking control and going in and doing it myself. There was a huge difference. So one of the recommendations I have is reflection.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever take time. We're busy. People are busy leaders. They're running around we love to say 9 to 5, but we know that's a joke. It's probably 5 to 9. So, and we forget to stop and think about the impact of our work and just making time, 20, 30 minutes every single Friday to sit down and think about what did you accomplish and what was the impact? What was the benefit or the value to the business? And the more aware and on top of that you can stay, the better it is for you when it comes to your promotion planning.
And I think to your point, it's not just about doing that reflection, right? It's about kind of being able to like put that out there. I just had a conversation with a person who's currently a victim of a reorg or a collateral from a reorg, I'll say. And she's looking for a new role. And one of the things that we were talking about is, personal brand is just as important as your resume anymore, and people knowing who you are and what you want to be known for and being able to open those doors for you is so important. And her hesitation was like, I don't want to come across as like full of myself. I'm very good at what I do, but I don't want to be that person. And I said to her, I'm like, hey, there's a lot of people out there who are saying they can do incredible things like you can do, and they actually can't. You actually have the talent and skill to back it up. Have you seen that, especially in women as they navigate kind of standing up and shouting their own accomplishments?
Oh my gosh, daily. Yes, daily. And it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of women who are so, I'm going to use a clean word, mad, just really mad because they've been bypassed for a promotion. And half the time they're training their leader, thinking, what just happened? And when I come back around and I ask, well, tell me what you were doing to prepare for this promotion, I hear everything perfection, right? I was working on getting my MBA. I was taking this class. I was keeping my head down. I was fixing this problem with my team. I was doing this. I was doing that. But visibility and building that brand never comes up. And it is critical. especially in this job market where there are a lot of reorgs happening. I myself was impacted through many reorgs during my corporate career. But if people don't know who you are and they don't know that value and you can't speak to it, it puts you in a really precarious position.
Yeah.
And on the job search, what you said was people coming across this, I don't know exactly the word you said, cocky maybe, such a worry. Oh my gosh, what if they think I'm cocky? Well, I can assure you that that gentleman over there isn't thinking twice about sounding cocky. He's getting his point across.
Yeah.
And confidence is critical. So that's, I love it. That's something I talk about daily.
Well, and it's one of those things. So I grew up in the real estate world. My mom sold real estate. My grandma sold real estate. And one of the things that we learned when we were buying our first house and getting ready to sell our house, or buying our second house, getting ready to sell our first, we put in a new furnace and we put in a new hot water heater and we put in those things that don't actually add value. They're more of a one-to-one, right? But like you look at, okay, you put in a new kitchen and all of a sudden the value of your house goes up, and you put in a new bathroom and your house is worth more. You put in new carpet and it doesn't really change your value. So really think about being strategic about what are you putting your time and emphasis on, because everything that you mentioned are things that are important, but they aren't kind of that like sexy, exciting thing that no one's going, oh my God, a new hot water heater. I have to have this house because it has a new, like no one is doing that, right? And those things are important, and you're not going to have nice showers in that brand new bathroom if you don't have the hot water heater. But you have to be able to focus on the things that are going to get you where you want to go, a higher price point on your house or a better job or a promotion. Even if there's things that you need to do, there's things that you should do to make yourself more appealing.
Absolutely. And we get stuck. I say we women, mostly this happens to men too, but we get so caught up in the act of perfection. It has to be perfect. I have to be perfect. I have to do these things. That's what held me in place for 10 years, where once I let that go and realized I just need to be able to do things, absolutely have accomplishments, absolutely be an amazing leader, which is so important. I need to make sure people outside of my team know that, so that as I'm paving the path forward, I've got champions and sponsors in my back pocket that will come up and speak for me, because now they know what I can do.
So you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation about taking 30 minutes on Friday to reflect. And then you just mentioned about the importance of like champions and sponsors. How do I start? Like if I'm starting from scratch, if it's on day 0, how would I start building those relationships so that I have them when I'm ready to take that next leap?
Great question. Oh my gosh. So when you are employed, I just did a speaking event. It was a keynote just last week talking about this. When you're employed, you have literally so many people at your fingertips that you can connect with and reach out to. But in most cases, you don't, except for the people you're comfortable with. So definitely one is having a very strong elevator pitch, so that when you run into somebody who's maybe new at the company or a leader you're not very familiar with, you're able to introduce yourself beyond, hello, I'm Tabatha, I'm a coach, I sit over there. You want to be able to come in with that really strong, this is who I am and what I do, and maybe a career goal. And would you mind if I reach out and schedule some time to sit down with you?
Yeah.
And learn a bit more about your journey. And then scheduling informational interviews are so helpful because it's building a relationship. We make the mistake of waiting until we want something. Often it's a promotion or a new job. And then all of a sudden we're in this hurry to go and meet people or build a relationship or get in front of them. Kind of too late. So starting right out of the gate, a couple of informational interviews per month doesn't take a lot of time. And it starts building that relationship so that you can start securing sponsors and people who can speak your name in the rooms where opportunities are coming up.
Right. Because often those opportunities are being talked about in rooms that you're not currently in. Right. So you mentioned a couple of things. Tell us more about these informational interviews. Are they as formal as they sound, or are they more of a casual activity?
It really depends on you. So I am a very casual, can talk about anything all day long that I'm interested in kind of person. Yeah. So for me, it would be a little probably more casual conversation where I would ask the person for 30 to 45 minutes of their time and just say, hey, I've got some career goals that I'm interested in getting your perspective on. Do you have a little bit of time to just sit down and chat? For someone who is that more analytical or maybe a little more introverted and gets a little bit more nervous with people they don't know very well, have some questions. And it's okay to send the questions in advance. Here are a few things I'd like to focus on when we're together, and then make the most of that time.
Yeah, very interesting. Is there any like benefit to being strategic in who you reach out to? Or is it just kind of like maybe in the beginning when you're first doing it, it's just anyone who will give you your time, and then looking at more strategy of like, okay, I want the promotion, I want to work on this team. Like how do I decide who I want to informationally interview?
Another great question. So for your question on strategic is always the thing, right? Thinking about, where do you want to go? Who hires for those roles? Maybe who's in those roles? It's a promotion opportunity. Maybe it's a director of something that you want to go meet with. So getting really comfortable and getting to know those people is helpful. And then also you shared your goal, so they know that you are maybe one of the people on the hot list for interest when that role opens up. The other strategy would be talking to business partners that work with those teams. So let's say I want to go become a vice president of marketing. And what I know is that customer communications deals a lot with marketing, or the information services team deals a lot with marketing. Mm-hmm. So talking to leaders on those teams. So when the name comes up, again, when my name is brought into that room, the business partners of that person, they're going, oh, well, we just talked to her and here's something she's doing, or here's something I know about her. It's strategic for sure. It takes a bit of planning, but mapping it out definitely makes it a lot more effective.
So let's flip to the other side of the table on this. When I was young in career, young as a leader, when people would move on, get promoted, leave my company and go somewhere else, I used to be a little offended by that. Like, oh, I wasn't good enough for you. And as I've kind of grown up in my career and learned more about being a leader, I've changed my mindset on less of you're leaving and more of you're graduating from my team or moving on to your next greater thing, and being more celebratory about those transitions. But that was a decades-long pivot for me to rethink my mindset. How do you coach leaders to empower their teams to achieve their own personal goals while still making sure that your team has what it needs to be successful?
It comes down to using your one-on-one time very efficiently. And I harp on this a bit, so I'm not going to do it today too much. But canceling an employee one-on-one is a horrible thing. Or rescheduling it at the last minute. That is my greatest
pet peeve. Oh my goodness.
It makes me crazy.
How else do you say to someone that I don't value you or your time to be like, I'm just going to constantly reschedule you? Or like, stuff happens, right? Our computers, we have a CrowdStrike outage and all of our computers stop working. Like, that's totally normal. But if it's a consistent thing, like if you constantly reschedule on me, you just don't value my time and you don't respect me.
It's a horrible message. I could harp on this forever. Exactly. And especially if you have an employee who has goals in mind, I recommend, so my clients, they're generally working toward a promotion. Some are seeking new jobs, but generally working toward a promotion. And one of the strategies I give them is owning their one-on-one meetings so that the agenda serves them best. And making sure that at least once a month, their development and growth and goals is on that agenda. As a leader, making sure that you're making space for that you're maybe offering some insight. Oh, I know that you're heading toward a vice president of marketing role. Have you considered having a conversation with this person? Do you want me to see if maybe I can make that introduction for you? Yeah. Being supportive, because to your point, it's worth celebrating. When you've raised somebody, I always said raised somebody. I love that you said graduated. But when you raised an employee, you worked with them, you've been through the blood, the sweat, and the tears. We know how life is, right? And you go through all those things and you see them getting ready to go into their next goal. That's such a huge moment of pride. And it says so much for you as a leader. It's definitely worth making that time and being available to help others. So if I have a question, can I come to you and ask you about this? Or if I've got this feedback, I received this feedback today, I don't know what to do with it. I'd like to talk to you about it in my one-on-one. The other thing I'd say, and again, leaning really on that one-on-one meeting because it's so important, is having dedicated feedback time. If you know what your employee wants and you know what skills are required, or maybe they're doing something that isn't quite the way it should be, it's a great opportunity to say, hey, in your next meeting, I want to have a feedback session. I'm going to ask you for one piece of constructive feedback and one piece of positive feedback. And I'm also going to share with you one piece of positive feedback and one piece of constructive feedback. That way you're helping each other grow.
I love that. And I love the idea of owning your one-on-one. And that's like, I feel like the best ideas are the ones that are obviously you should. But I see so many people who go into that one-on-one expecting their leader to lead the way. And it really, that's not a relationship, right? If you want to build a relationship with your leader, you need to come in with your own side of the conversation and what you're looking to do. And it can't always be complaining or frustrations or fix this problem for me or come save the day for me. Because I think a lot of people treat those one-on-ones as opportunities to defend themselves or defend their work or complain about people that they're working with, instead of seeing them as strategic conversations to drive their growth forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same for a year-end review or quarterly reviews now a lot of companies are doing. What happens is the employee, and this is at all levels. I'm not talking about frontline employees. I'm talking about managers, directors.
Oh, yeah.
They will walk into that meeting like at the parent-teacher conference and they're just getting a download. And it drives me nuts.
That is such a good analogy. Like as a parent of young kids, like if I walk into it as a parent-teacher conference instead of like a relationship building and a growth opportunity, it's a different mindset into how I'm walking into that meeting.
Absolutely. And you're walking into that meeting talking about that these are my goals. How do you feel I'm trending? Here's where I'm at. Here are the things I'm most proud of that I've accomplished this year. And it's just such an overlooked opportunity. So yes, owning your one-on-one and making sure that conversation is there. As a leader, making sure you're making space for it. And then I'd say as a leader as well with your year-end and quarterly reviews is even give your employees a little clue. Hey, I'd love for you to come into this meeting prepared to talk about these things. Mm-hmm. Because it's a shift in a lot of places. It hasn't happened. My employees knew that they were coming in and we were having a conversation, so they should probably be ready for it.
Right.
But a lot of people don't. And we went through, so I left corporate in 2021. We went through a reorg in 2019. And I had a lot of employees that were new to me who were frankly kind of shocked. I expected them to come prepared for the conversation. I can't know everything you did. I have all of these things going on. I've got my own things that I work on, and I need you to come in with what you're most proud of, because that's really what's most important.
Right. It also gives you the ammunition to be that person in the room for them when the opportunity comes up, right? But if you don't know their story and what they're good at and what they're proud of, then you're never going to be able to raise your hand on their behalf.
Exactly.
So you are known for a checklist of the 10 must-do strategies for career advancement. Maybe just give us a few of those. What if I am looking to advance my career and I want to be successful? What should I really do? What should I consider?
So we've covered a few of them today. So a couple of them, I would say one is tracking your accomplishments. And not just, I completed this project on time, but the accomplishment was some stats and metrics. Get some numbers and data behind it, right? Did that project save hours?
It's almost like tracking your impact, right? Like yes, I did X, Y, and Z, and then this is what happened, right? Because it's cool that you completed a task, but what does that mean for the business? What does that mean for your leader? What does that mean for your team, right? Be able to match that to an outcome.
Absolutely. So there's that, and having that data and those facts. The one thing I want to add to that, because we're talking a lot definitely about the promotion aspect, but if you are suddenly unexpectedly unemployed, having that information ready to go makes it a whole lot easier to prepare for interviews and updating your resume and doing all those things. So it's definitely something that serves you for a really long time.
And to your point, probably something you should do in the moment as it happens, because if you are in a situation, the last thing you want to do is sit down and be like, okay, I'm upset that I just lost my job. I'm trying to find a new job. I'm I'm vulnerable, I'm self-conscious, and now I have to sit down and try to remember all of the things that I've been successful at. Like, that's not going to be a great experience. So tracking it as it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And a simple Google Sheet or Excel spreadsheet, whatever makes you happy, on your personal computer or something that you have. Personal computer. I mean, I know some people that might have not done that and lost access. So personal computer. So that's one. The other is being really clear on your skills and areas of expertise so that when you're building your elevator pitch, which would be the third, you're really clear in what you're an expert at.
Yeah.
That is, you have to be able to talk about yourself. Nobody else is going to do it as well as you. So making sure you have that. We also touched on visibility. So getting out, whether it's informational interviews or networking events or joining ERGs, maybe getting on the ERG board, employee resource groups, or some other industry groups so that you can continue to maintain and build that visibility. Those are great ways to start getting positioned for your next promotion.
Awesome. So in your mind, Tabatha, who is Taking Back Monday? Who else should we be talking to?
Alyssa Wilcox. Her podcast is called Tech Champagne. And she takes back Monday by helping other entrepreneurs really with building their technology and making things so much easier and more streamlined. Also came from a corporate career, and she is just doing some really amazing things.
I love that. I love the title of the podcast, Tech Champagne.
Me too.
Amazing. Okay, so the last question is, if someone's really connecting with you, they want some career support or some career advancement advice, or they want to be a leader who really takes that seriously, how can they find you online?
So a couple of ways. LinkedIn is the best. I'm Tabatha with all A's, Tabatha Jones. So connecting with me on LinkedIn where I share some content. And then my website recently changed is empowered-leader.com. And you can check out programs. You can also book a call there if you'd like to hop on a complimentary chat to kind of talk about how your career is going and what I can do to help you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for appearing on Taking Back Monday. And I can't wait for everyone to tell us how their career advancement goals go.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, and cheers to better careers.